'Cause there are many more games to be played.
Dude, shut up.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Many More Games. I'm here, my name is Alex, and I'm here with a special guest today.
Hi guys, my name is Václav. I'm from Ostrava.
Okay, Vesta, and you are a local boy, and you have your own channel, don't you? Can you tell us a little about that?
Oh, I do. I'm here today to talk about Warhammer 40k and other games that I play. And my channel, or our channel, is called Zlobr League, Zlobr Liga in Czech. It's a channel about local tournaments that's going on in 4 different cities: in Ostrava, in Olomouc, in Brno, and in Zlín. I'm one of the organizers, so I'm basically running the site. And what can you see on the channel? Vlogs from the tournaments, from just playing around. And if you want to see our Facebook page, you can also do that by trying to find the Zlobr Liga on Facebook.
Yeah. I will be putting all links to all these things, Facebook, your channel, everything, into the comment section below. Okay, so I will be adding that into the description of the video. So don't worry, all that information will not be hard to find, it will all be in one place. Excellent.
Amazing.
Now, one of the main reasons I've invited you here today is not only because of your extremely good local knowledge, because you know absolutely everybody who plays the hobby in the local area, being tournament guy, but also because we have very different play styles and approaches to the hobby. I am what you would call a hobby hero. I like that term. And the reason because I'm more into the narrative, and I like sort of more the painting aspect and the narrative aspect of the game. I do play, but I'm not as competitive. Whereas you, on the other hand, are a really intense tournament player.
That's true. I'm more on the competitive side. You could say I do like your. I do like how you said that you are more like a hero of Warhammer, and I consider myself to be more as a general of the army.
A villain.
It depends. So yeah, I focus on playing the game from a more competitive way, but I also recognize that people like the game Warhammer 40k for many reasons. So I mean, you like painting your army, creating a story behind it, and I do find it to be awesome. It's just from my focus, the playing the game, selecting the best units, playing the right combos at the right time. That's for me. That's what I like.
And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I'm going to be asking you some questions about that. So before I do that, can I ask you a little bit about the hobby scene in Ostrava and the Czech Republic?
Yes, please. Yes, yeah, let's do it.
So, first question, I suppose, what is the hobby scene like? What sort of things happen here in the Czech Republic that we should be aware of?
Well, I guess we can start with Prague. Being capital city, there are many small, even larger tournaments happening there. They have a local, but usually the games are happening at the local store called Ogří Doupě. You can definitely find it on Facebook or on their website. Usually you can have a game there, or you can just stalk someone on Facebook group and have a game there. They are also organizing their own tournament, which is, if I remember correctly, Ogre Cup. Yes, and also this is more for even regular players. This is not too competitive, but you can also bring competitive army there. For more competitive players, I would definitely recommend Prague Open, which is international tournament. And it's just great to meet new people, to see new armies that's not really being played around in Czech Republic. I definitely recommend that.
Fantastic. Now I'm going to interrupt you here because I feel some of the viewers that we have will be local people. And so what I'd like to do is I'd ask you now to focus a little bit more on sort of the local scene, what they can try to find here, because I'm sure Prague's quite easy probably to find a lot of games being the capital city and all. But people might come to Ostrava and go, well, there's no game system here, or there's no tournaments to be involved in, because Ostrava is a lovely city. It's the third biggest city in the Czech Republic, but it has the reputation of being, not Prague.
Yeah. Then, if people said that, then I couldn't agree with them because we have a lovely shop here called Black Lotus, in which we are doing the Ostrava's Zlobr League. And also you can have a pickup game there without any issues. And then there's another shop in Frídek Místek called Hravarna, and they also allow you to play there, and they have a really great terrain. Also, there's a great terrain in Black Lotus. But if you want to have a pickup game, then definitely come to our webpage and just write down, is there anyone ready to play, and then we can definitely have a pickup game.
Fantastic. And I want to point out here, you took me off to Olomouc the other day, and we played in something called Grillhammer.
Oh, that was so lovely. The Zlobr League that I'm the organizer, we are doing the league in 4 cities: Ostrava, Olomouc, Brno, and Zlín. And we went together to Olomouc, which was a little bit special because we were mixing the best part of Warhammer, being with great friends, playing Warhammer, and enjoying a grill party, basically. So we played Warhammer, we had a lovely feast, and we just enjoyed the sun and being outside.
And you've got pictures of those on Facebook group, haven't you?
I do, yes. So if you want to see what's going on, what it looks like.
If you want to see us all wearing ladies' hats, because it was so hot, it was roasting.
It was. My back was so burned. Oh my goodness!
My neck was red for a week. It was so hot. We weren't expecting it to be that hot. We were out in the garden the entire time.
Yeah. Still, I would rate it 10/10 and would do it again. Yeah, really.
Our poor host's mother had to lend us her hat collection, didn't they? We're all walking around with hats with ribbons on them because none of us came prepared for the weather that time of the year. We were standing out there. Everyone who wasn't playing was hiding under the apple tree, trying to stay cool the entire time. The one thing I have to say, our host, who was hosting us again?
His nickname is Skaven, otherwise Kamil.
Yeah.
He's such a lovely guy.
Amazing host.
Yeah.
The beer was cold the whole time.
That was so good. And he was prepared for us. Everything was perfect. I mean, it was really great. I would recommend it. Just go to Olomouc for Grillhammer any day, any week. Really, it's so amazing.
Do it. It's we although whatever you do, don't do what I did, right? And put on the table next to the barbecue. I was sitting on that table for 2 games, and each game was like an hour long, it's a long game, and it's roasting hot. It's like 36 degrees or something. It was really, really hot, and I'm standing there, and there's a fire behind me, this giant outdoor grill burning me from it was an amazing experience. It was really, really well worth it, and it had the wonderful aspect of being competitive and yet also social and narrative, which I thought was really good.
It was great.
It's something for everybody, and I'm a narrative player. I'm a narrative player. I went there. They were welcoming. They invited me. I was playing with a borrowed army. I was playing with one of your armies. I was playing a knight army, which I'll show you some examples of later. And I was playing a knight army, and there were some really competitive guys there, but at the same time, every game was fun. Everybody was understanding when I had to check the rules, and in fact, the great thing about it was everybody was checking the rules. But people were checking the rules and they were understanding with me. But what I would say to you is, if you do go to one of these team games, I was lucky it was a smaller event and there were less games to be played than in some of these other tournaments. Make sure you know your army. Make sure you know your list, because you don't want to be offending someone who's put a lot of effort into knowing their army inside and out, and you're sitting there leafing through 100 things. Now,
definitely. If I just may, you don't need to know any army. Like every army there's out there, you don't need to do that. Just know your army. That's the most important thing. Know your stratagems. Know your army. You don't have to know every number there, but it's really good to know what you have in your list altogether. So
don't be like me with about 8 sheets of paper and a very blustery day me pinning down different sheets of paper with my beer and with different any heavy object that came to hand was holding down my sheets of paper. But yeah, it was really, really good fun. So it's not just about gaming. It's not just about tournaments. It's about getting to know people, being sociable, socializing, having some fun, and there's a lot more to it than just sitting in a. You don't just sit in a game shop. We were in a garden the entire day, out in the sun, and roasting in the sun.
For me that was a great experience because I sit in office all day. So if I get to see sun, that's great for me. But I understand you being British, you have a thing against sun. So I perfectly.
That was the joke the entire day. You're British. You're weak against the sun. I had to deal with people coming up to me with multiple hats and layers of sunscreen. You can have it first because you're British.
Here, have an umbrella.
Okay. All right. So there's a lot going on. And it's not just for 40k. There's Necromunda, which we'll show you in a little bit. There's Necromunda. There's AOS, which you can play. I think maybe Friedrich Mystic is more of the zone which plays that. But there's pickup games. You can ask to pick up games at Black Lotus as well on your website.
Yeah, definitely.
They may be in Friedrich Mystic. They may say, "Can you come down to Friedrich Mystic and play with it?" That's like half an hour away, isn't it?
It's really close.
Sorry if we're muttering. We're chattering away. Sorry if I'm being too quiet for the microphone. I just realised that we're on the microphone. So, main topic today. Main topic I wanted to talk to you about because you are the guy, the go-to guy in the local area. Warhammer 40k. What was it about Warhammer 40k that grabbed you as a hobby?
I must say it was the story. Yeah, I know.
The narrative has nothing to do with the game.
Yeah, but it got me into playing Warhammer because the first miniature I bought was Yarrick, Commissar Yarrick, an old man fighting on World Armageddon, basically a wasteland, fighting against a huge war boss, Ork war boss, Ghazghkull Thraka, and I just had to buy those two models. And at that point, I knew I was going to start an Ork army and Imperial Guard army. I just knew it.
I think with Warhammer 40k, and I think I've talked a little bit about Age of Sigmar with the people on this channel already, but I feel that 40k is probably the more well-known universe because there's so many computer games coming out about it at the moment. There's I think there's Mechanicus is coming out, and there's just been Inquisitor Martyr,
Titanicus also.
Titanicus, Dawn of War, which is, I know Dawn of War 3 Cup was kind of a bit of a flop in some areas.
A little bit. I think it just went too much. They just went for doing something that the players didn't really want them to do. Basically, like, people would love to see Dawn of War 1 or 2 being recreated, and they just created it into a little bit of MOBA style of game.
It had a very strong cult following as a game, didn't it? And so when you brought out something, the graphics were astounding, the ideas, bringing knights into the game, and Wraith Knights, that was amazing. I remember watching the cinematics and going, "Oh my god, this is the game I've been waiting for!" But then, and then unfortunately, it didn't do as well as it would have liked. But times have moved on. I feel times have moved on in that respect, and maybe some people want a new game. Sometimes people just want the game to be reimagined, and they want the same thing back. They want something they can't get anymore. Strategy games are not as pervasive now as they used to be, I feel, except for more competitive ones like Total War and
I think they're being more focused on multiplayer, which me being a single player guy, I really love campaign. If the game has great campaign, then I would play it like repeatedly again and again, and I would just enjoy the great story. Like the Dawn of War 1, that was just perfect for the story. But that's the game. That's the PC game, and but the miniature game, that's just completely different story because it just brings you into contact with real people, having social interaction. So I like the PC games, but I prefer the miniature game better.
And it's so much more fleshed out, isn't it, than the video games? I mean, as a narrative player, as a narrative player who I do play, as I say, I play matched play games. I do like some tournament games every now and then. But even then, you will be the first to tell me your army is not maxed out to be as efficient as possible, and I go, but the rule of cool, man, the rule of cool.
I would just say
which we'll talk about.
I would just say to you, are you sure about
Are you
this?
sure you want that?
Don't you want to take this unit instead? And
you're like, no, this one's got bigger guns. You're like, but not as effective.
and I just have to,
Wipe a tear
away. And
The
be like,
tear okay, now a lot of people who know 40k probably know some of the basic races. They probably know about the Space Marines.
Yeah.
They probably know about the Eldar, possibly the Orks. They probably know Orks, but not as they are presented in 40k.
maybe Imperial Guards. They are the regular men, fighting against the horrors of the galaxy. So.
But there are so many more races than that in Warhammer 40k. So many more playable races. Some of them more competitive than others, but all of them playable. Thanks to the new edition. 8th edition is an infinitely more playable, I feel, edition for all armies.
Yeah.
Maybe not as uber competitive, but it has. But all armies can do something.
You at least have a chance. It's not basically in the edition before. If you didn't really pick up a really good army, then you wouldn't have a chance. But now, like, every army you play has at least a fighting chance against even the best ones. Maybe not the best chance, but a chance nevertheless.
Yeah, and maybe not. Yeah, like you said, not optimized, but it is. Your guardsman can still chip the last wound off a model if he does a lucky shot, which is
even a warhound. I mean, I just cannot imagine how that could happen, but it could happen. So
it ricochets off ricochets off 3 knee joints that have been polished, reflected by the movement, bounces up. It's no more up through a cooling vent, which was placed there strategically by a traitor who created that in the first place. I'm actually retelling Star Wars here, so I'm going to be but it's true.
I just wondered when you are going to start about the space wizard.
If proton torpedoes can destroy a space base the size of a planet, a
then
guardsman can can destroy a titan the size of a small building.
Fair enough.
Okay, with his flashlight laser gun. All right. So what I have here is I've got a little quiz for you.
All right.
Today. All right. So I've got a little quiz, and I'm going to be showing a few pictures. I'm not going to be showing these pictures exactly to you. I'll be putting some other pictures up to show you what we're talking about, because these pictures are GW pictures, and I am aware that I don't want to be infringing on the copyright of either the artist who created these pictures or GW. So I will be putting some other people's work who have accepted me to use it on the video.
But you can
or I will sketch it myself.
So but you can definitely find them in codexes or online. So basically, they are the beautiful art of Warhammer.
Yeah, well, you'll see some examples that I'll show you the boxes, which are not.
Oh my, I love the art of Warhammer 40k. So I'm gonna guess that what are you going to show me, but
you're gonna tell us what I'm showing you. Tell us. So these are some of the probably the lesser known races in Warhammer 40k, and I'd like to just show them. Maybe you can just explain who they are. Any little fun little facts about the lore that you think that you would be interested in sharing with us, and maybe how they play in the game.
All right.
All right. So these guys first.
All right. Oh, do you like Vikings? Do you like Viking in space? Then you definitely want to play Space Wolves. These guys are regular Space Marines. Well, kind of like regular Space Marines, but they are a little bit more feral. They are more like Vikings. They are the guys that will just take the fight to the enemy, and they will honor their forefathers, basically like Vikings. And these are the only Space Marines that are actually getting drunk, because the regular Space Marines' body is so good against destroying toxins that they cannot get drunk. But these guys, they actually figure out how to make a brew so strong that it will get even the Space Marine drunk. It will kill you. It will kill me. It will kill.
You're confirming a lot of Czech stereotypes here. That the focus of what you're looking at here in an army is whether they can drink, whether they can chug down beer with the best of them.
Yeah.
And they have quite an interesting leader, don't they?
Oh, Logan, yes. I think this is the only leader who's using a slate to fight in the battle. I mean, it's a little bit funny for me, but I would choose something else, maybe a bike. But he's so awesome that he can just drive whatever he wants and still defeat the badasses in in the far future. So
Just
who am I to
don't
judge?
paint him red, otherwise he looks like a space Santa.
Yes, exactly.
Although that guy you would not want to be on his naughty list.
Yeah. Just from point of view of playing, the Space Wolves are still waiting on the codex, so they are still.
It is confirmed though. The codex is coming. It has been confirmed. It's one of the next two codexes to come
Yes.
out.
The other codex is my favorite. I might talk to you about it later.
So how do they play compared to regular Space Marines? How do they differ? Why would you choose Space Wolves over regular Space Marines if it was a combination of fluff and rules?
Now they have a specific units. They basically have a Thunder Wolf cavalry.
Space Marines riding wolves.
What not to like about that, right? I mean, huge wolves, not small ones. I mean, that would look a little bit ridiculous. But they have a huge breed of wolves, and they are riding on it in battle, and it just looks epic.
Yeah. They also, if you go into the fluff of them, the storyline, they had a particular leader. Their Primarch was the executioner. He was the Emperor's executioner, and his job was to wipe out any of his brothers who went against the Emperor and his word. He also, his Space Marines have a special genetic trait. They have wolf DNA or something in their bodies, and because they had to survive on this feral death world planet called Fenris, which means wolf, obviously. But they had to live on this planet, and they had this gene inserted into the natives, and that reacts with the gene seed that creates the organs that create a Space Marine, and creates a hairy, fanged wolf version of a space Viking Space Marine.
Exactly.
But they do have a flaw, don't they?
Yeah. Sometimes this can turn to rather not well Space Marine. They can turn into wolfen and basically just mutate too much, and they become something more like a werewolf. They are losing their minds. They are still fighting for the Allfather, for their Primarch. They are still fighting for the Imperium, but they look more like a mutant, more like a demon than a Space Marine.
Yeah.
So.
And you can have those in your army, can't you?
Yes,
you can get those in your army.
They're rather awesome.
Yeah. And they have a different way of playing. Like their youngsters are all brash, and they're all in one big pack together.
Yeah.
They're all close combat monsters, and then you've got the ones when they've had some of those brash ones have died, and there's a few left over. They form another pack, which is the Grey Hunters, and they become the standard Space Wolf warrior who's tempered his ferocity with his ability to think rationally.
Yeah.
And then when they get older, they become long fangs, and they get given the big heavy weapons to shoot at the enemies with.
Yeah, because they finally calm down a little bit, so they can at least shoot and not try to bash the enemy with their heavy weapons.
Yeah, it's good fun. It's good fun, and very thematic. If you like to play, hopefully they'll be very competitive when they come out. Excuse me, we've just got a little problem. I'm going to be just switching back over to the intro picture for the moment because I need to get up and plug my computer in. It's dying. That noise you hear is the death of a computer. So one moment. Be right back. We may be closer to the camera by the time we come back. One moment. Not quite close enough. Okay, keep moving. Keep moving. We can do it. And now the cat is attacking me.
Oh my. Well, we talked about wolves, not about cats, so...
Exactly. There are no space cats. Away with you.
Not yet.
Not yet. There will be a cat. I wonder if there is a cat-themed Space Marine army. Let's have a look. How we do. Okay, we're kind of back here now. Sorry, we're a little bit closer than we'd like to be to everything. Can't really sit back very much because the wall is behind us now. Thanks very much for being so patient. Okay, so Space Wolves. That's what we talked about. We're talking about Space Wolves. Would you mind just shifting just a tiny bit there? I'll move the camera.
Sure,
there we
no
go.
problem.
So I can move the camera over there, and then I can sit there without actually banging into the bookcase every time I turn around. Okay, so Space wolves, aggressive wolf-like space marines with an honor complex. I think.
Yeah, I mean that's it.
Excellent. And what about these guys here?
Oh, do you love playing as a villain? I mean, you want to play these guys. These are the Chaos Space Marines. Those are the Space Marines that actually fell to one of 4 gods of chaos, and they are really the bad guys. They are the worst in the galaxy. And yeah, I mean, you don't really want to end up in their apartment at all. Well, maybe Slanesh, maybe, but you will not survive that. Intact, at least.
I'm so calling you on that. Yeah, Space Marines. They basically the evil version. You can summon demons. You can have if you're one of the specific armies that has a demon primarch, like a demon who's come back, you can get this big sort of demigod demon prince
with great rules, great model, and it's just those. There are only 2 demonic primarchs out. I mean, I think it's Magnus and Mortarion, but they look amazing. If you can find them on online, they just look ridiculous great. And also, I mean, the regular Space Marine cannot turn into Primarch, but he can turn into Chaos Demon Prince. Just imagine being a demigod. So sometimes that can turn badly. I mean, if he displease your god, he can turn you into Chaos Spawn, and basically you can end up being like a monster with 40 arms, or just a big slob of, I don't know, meat, or it can really end up bad. So I mean, they are the ultimate villain of the Warhammer 40k. So yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, even I fell to chaos at one point. They are evil, they are fun, and they are actually competitive again now, rather than I got my my bum kicked by a demon / Space Marine army.
Yeah.
It is definitely possible for you to die to these guys. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more picture now, and this picture has 2 armies in it I'd like to talk about. So maybe you can just identify these 2. One which has made him very happy, and the other one which he's going to point out and go, So here we go.
All right. Oh yeah. So I'll start with the one that actually defeated me in the last tournament, and that will be the Harlequins. The Harlequins are part of the Eldar race. They are the old race that was here before humanity, and they have amazing technology that looks almost like a magic to us. However, these are kind of like space clowns. They dress in ridiculous colors, and well, I'm a little bit biased about them, after the last tournament. But the playstyle, they are rather hard to hit, and they hit like a ton of bricks, really. Those clowns can just throw so many attacks.
Just going to remind you before you get into your obscenity rant here, this is a channel we've got kids watching, just to remind you.
They are really great at being assaulty, and they are great at defeating the opponent, at just assault them and destroy them. However, they are a little bit fragile, so be careful, don't get stranded.
It's a glass hammer.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So if you play them well, you will defeat almost anything. If you make 1 or 2 mistakes, big mistakes, then you have a problem. It will be hard to get up afterwards.
The one thing I love about these guys is they are the only Eldar in the game that are not worried about their souls at all.
Oh yeah.
The Eldar in the storyline are all because they created the god Slanesh, who is the god of excess and gluttony and
all the pleasures you can imagine,
and debauchery. He because they created her or him, depending on which side. If you're Slanesh, it's she who thirsts, and if it's humans, they call it Slanesh, a male.
Yeah.
So the Dark Prince. And if you play these guys, normally what happened was most of the Eldar got their souls sucked away from them. They got killed in the instant Slanesh was created. Yeah. Some of the Eldar hid away in the webways, in port cities that they created in the webways, and these are the Dark Eldar, who are like the raiders, the pirates. They come out, they steal you away, and they torture you until you feed their souls and replenish their souls, and then they go and find more.
Yeah. They kind of embrace the whole Slanesh idea, just being just living in debauchery, trying
they haven't
to
changed really.
Yeah,
They're
not at
the
all.
elves from the Fall. They're the original Eldar.
And then you have the regular Eldar, those guys who kind of said, okay, we need to stop with just indulging ourselves. We need to be a little bit more conservative. But no one listened to them, but they are the ones who survived. So
they're kind of like samurai in a way. They have like a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
strict lifestyle. They have to follow very strict rules, and they have to only follow one sort of path at a time. You know, if you want to be an artist, everything is about the art, completely focused on the art. And then, but if you get too focused, then you get trapped in that way. So they have to stay focused but not become obsessed.
Yeah.
But the Harlequins. These are the ones who worship a particular Eldar god, one of the only gods that survived.
I think he's called Chegarath. Am I correct?
Chegarath or Segarath, I'm never quite sure how to pronounce it, but he is the laughing god.
Yeah.
He is the trickster god of
The jester.
the jester god, and his whole point was he protects the souls, he steals them back. From Slanesh. He likes to tweak the nose of Slanesh and steal back his children. They're the only Eldar that have no fear for what's going to happen to them after they die. They know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. And they are even in their dance, they are performing dances to either Eldar or the Dark Eldar. They do not really concern themselves, having an allegiance to any other kin. They are just, bringing them news. They are telling them some prophecies, and it's.
Well, they got weapons from both sides, don't they?
Yeah.
So they're literally like middle ground Eldar. If you don't want to be too good or too bad, you play the inscrutable Harlequins who have their own agenda, and that's it. They don't care about anything except making you fulfill their prophecies, their dances. Yeah. And when you get stuck in one of their dances, well, you better play your part. Otherwise, the Harlequins will hound you until you do what they want.
Exactly.
And normally what they want to do is hound you until you make the mistake that's going to make you the fall guy or the hero or whatever it is that their dance demands.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course you're now going to talk about the other race in that picture.
That's my favorite race, really. I mean, the orcs that you'll see, for me, they are the good guys from the whole galaxy, because they just want to fight. They don't care if you are Imperium, they don't care if you are Eldar, they don't care if you are Chaos. They just want to have a good fight, and that's all. I mean, they are like the hooligans who are just destroying things, having a good brawl, and just fighting. I mean, who wouldn't like that, really?
They're kind of. I resent the fact they all seem to have like English accents of all the like. Orkish tends to be like that, Oi boys, oi boys, oi humies.
It sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it just seems so relevant to the orcs. They are just kind of big, silly, and they just want to have a good smash,
But despite being silly, they have like an instinctive genetic understanding of things. So like they're not just brutes. You're not just going to have to worry about, I have a guy with a big axe and that's the game. You get orcs make like copies of everything they see. They're able to understand how things work like instinctively, and there's kind of like a psychic power to it as well, because something that should not fly, if an orc believes will fly, it will fly.
It is quite amazing, yeah. I mean, there were some reports of Imperium's tech priests, like the guys who are taking care of technology. They founded an orc vehicle and they couldn't drive it. So they just left it alone. They just couldn't start it. They just couldn't even drive it. It was no way possible that the vehicle could start. It was, the engine didn't make any sense, and they just left it alone. The next day, some orcs came to the vehicle and it just started immediately and it just drove off. It's amazing. I mean,
because it shouldn't work, but it does, because the orcs believe it does.
Yeah, they believe it works. It works. Holy moly, that's great.
It is. It's absolutely cool, and they have like giant robots of their own, and they have bombers. If you like World War II style aeroplanes, you've got bombers and fighters and that sort of dogfighter scrappy version. You've got them on little helicopters, deathcopters, which apparently I heard a rumor of having some new models made for them. This was actually on Kitetsu the other day. Talked about it. But he said it's all salty because it's like NDA stuff.
We'll see. Although the orcs might seem simple, and their strategy is usually simple. Just try to chop. Fight in close combat something that is shooting at you and shoot something that's trying to clobber you in close combat. I mean, if you underestimate the orcs, you're going to have a really bad time. Because they have a really, really simple strategies, but they work. And, you never, don't underestimate an orc. That's my advice.
If you like big hordes of green, smelly guys who shoot wildly into the air while charging at the enemy, and you don't, I mean, if you're like me into the fluff and you're attracted by the idea that it doesn't matter how many orcs die, there's going to be more to replace them, it doesn't matter, and if your warlord dies, it's all in good fun. If he dies blowing himself up, then that's actually a good orky game. That makes sense. Orcs make sense. If the orc is actually blowing himself up, that is the without understanding what he's doing. That's brilliant. They've got some really, really funny weapons. It looks like something the Mask would wield. They've got like the rocket launcher, which is just literally looks like big fireworks attached to his arm.
Just a huge rocket launcher. Just a rocket on a stick. What else can you want, really? I mean, that just one quick thing. There's a gun called shock attack gun. And it basically, the orcs have like a smallish creatures called snotlings or grots. They are like slaves to them, and they are even smaller than
like goblins. They're like little tiny goblins.
And basically, the orcs will kind of force snotlings into this gun. It sucks them up and it sends them through another dimension into an enemy model. So basically, if you're wearing armor, that snotling can just teleport it, and you might have a snotling just being stuck in your gut, which is not fun, really.
No, not for the snotling, and not for you. No, but it's like the old. It reminds me of the old Warhammer Fantasy Doom Divers. Where they'd line up to be part of it just because they get to fly or they get to teleport for the first time.
And if they kill something, that's a bonus, basically.
And the more orcs you have, the more powerful they get, because orcs get more powerful, they get bigger. The more they fight, the more they win. The stronger they get. So we're hoping in the new edition, just like the Space Wolf, already confirmed, seems to be coming out at the same time as the Space Wolf, which we might see a new box for. That's the hope.
Yeah, or in like 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, there maybe in 1 week there will be Space Wolves. In another week there will be the Orcs. I don't care. I mean, as long as they all come out, I would be so glad.
So you're hoping for the Prime Orcs, giant Orc. That's what you're hoping for, giant Orc.
Exactly. The new model for Gasgul Thraka will be huge. I will just buy it like immediately. Just sign me in. I will just buy. At this point, I will not even look at the rules, and I'm the guy who just loves the rules. But for Gasgul Thraka, he's the guy in my heart still. So.
Doesn't he have isn't it sort of like Gazgal Mag Urak Thraka or something? He's got middle names. He's an orc with middle names.
And every one of his name has a meaning, like for what he done. Like he beaten up some space marine librarians, and he's the prophet of two orc gods, and he's just so amazing. I love that guy. But,
Okay, so that's a few armies of 40k you may not have seen. If you want to talk about any more, well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to just take this point to plug your channel a little bit, and just say that your channel is focused mainly on tournament play. You like to talk about sort of the tournament scene, lists, and things that might be effective in tournaments. So if someone was going to get started in 40k, if they wanted to get started in 40k, if they wanted to be part of this scene in Zlobr Liga.
Yes, I understand.
Want to be part of Zlobr Liga, then what would you say to them? How would you get them to start out?
I would my first advice is to decide what you want from Warhammer. If you want to just collect your army and just paint it, and you just want to look at it on the desk shelf, just go for whatever you like. Really, there's no wrong answer. If you wanna be competitive, then I would definitely say try to look up the armor lists that are going on around the internet. and or try to find the Czech Warhammer 40k Facebook page. That's also on Facebook, and people will definitely try to help you out there. If you ask them politely, then there will be definitely someone that will give you good advice to how to start.
And on your channel, you have some examples of lists. And
Yeah,
things. You'll be
yeah.
putting some stuff up that may be helping people with some.
I'm presenting some of my armies, and in the future I would like to talk about some basic tactics from more competitive point of view, but also great for beginners, you know. And I'm always talking about my armies, and I'm showing up what you can start, and I'm also presenting the armies of opponents. So there are also great examples of what you want to start to collect. If you want to be somewhere in the middle, like if you just love some kind of model, but you also want to go to tournaments, that it's also a good idea to just talk to some veterans about what you want to buy, because some models can be really good, some can be okay-ish. Like we talked to Alex, that he told me what he wants to play, but he gave me some limitations. That he said that he wants to play the Imperial Knight in a certain way, and I said, okay, we'll try to figure out your army around it. You know, try to play that.
But I tried to listen to you as well. I was sitting there going, oh, I want it to look like this, and I want it to have, you know, this sort of story. And you were like, yeah, but you actually want to win a game.
Yeah.
So maybe here is.
Please, just try
to do a few things.
Yeah.
They're not out to get you. All right, I'm going to point it this way.
Yeah,
if a tournament player says this is maybe not the most effective list, he's not saying you are stupid. All right, he's saying maybe you haven't thought about this idea or this synergy or. I think sometimes the problem is, and I'm going to say, and I've had this when I lived in Singapore. I think sometimes the problem is that because tournament players are really into the game, and if they know you want to be a tournament player, they kind of expect you've done your homework a little bit, or at least know the basics about it. They expect you to sort of go, they expect you to say yes, but how? They're not being abrupt. They're just giving you advice and saying. It in a way that they expect someone who's also done the homework to be able to understand and go, I see. They're not trying to say, you're stupid, you don't know what you're doing, listen to me. You're saying, no, I have some ideas. These are the ideas that I'm putting forth. You don't have to agree with me. I'm just giving you my advice.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say that's perfectly. Yeah, you're correct, because the more competitive players do not like to bash the newbies. There's no challenge in it. There's nothing into it for us. So for us, it's better to play against opponents that are actually prepared for us. They have the similar lists, and we have a challenge, in that. So basically, we are trying to give out advice how to, make your army better, how to up your game. But basically, it's upon you if you want to take up the advice, if you want to play that way, or if you want to play a certain way. Then there's no wrong answers in Warhammer.
It's like playing Magic the Gathering or another game like that. You can have any deck you want. You can put any card you want in, but some cards are rarer, have better synergies than others, and it's the tournament players who tend to find this out because they're the ones that put the time and invest the time into figuring out what works well with something else and what doesn't work, and that's kind of where. And so I know a lot of people in Australia, Magic the Gathering plays a major thing in the Czech Republic is Magic the Gathering, and which, by the way, our hobby is not that much more expensive than Magic the Gathering, because to make a proper competitive deck, you need to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can even buy the Warhammer miniatures, second hand, if you really need to, save up a little bit. But
find someone who's purging. Find someone who's purging their old army because they want to buy a new one. Buy their stuff off them for cheap.
But I must say the new Games Workshop is helping us so much in this instance, because they are putting out the starter boxes that are really great. The value is perfect, and the miniatures there, you are really going to use every one of them. Now let's quickly talk about, because you just brought up the value for money. We're going to talk about, just going to show you an example of value for money. There was an army that has just been revamped, which is the newest 40k army that's just been redone, which is called the Imperial Knights. Now, Imperial Knights are for those people who like awesomely stupid robots or stupidly awesome robots, depending on how you look at it. If you like robots, if you like Transformers, if you like
Pacific Rim, any
Yeah.
of those sorts of shows, you will
Gundam.
love these models. Okay, they are big. They're about 12 times the size of a regular model. They're
Yeah.
huge, so it looks like you're actually playing with a statue
Yeah.
walking around.
They are such a great centerpiece to your army. I mean, they are just amazing models.
But if you wanted to play an army of them, it is a major investment.
It is. But Games Workshop helped out on that front, and they just they put out this little box, which is the Renegades box, and I must say that's a quite amazing box, because you have 2 Imperial Knights there. Well, you even have a Chaos Knight there, but you can put
However you want.
yeah.
Chaos, or you can do both of them chaos, one normal. They're kind of trying to push another game in here. They've made like a sort of a mini game, which is fun. It's a fun little game, but it's not why people buy the box, really,
Exactly.
is it?
It's a nice bonus, but you are buying it because the price for this, it's just so amazing. I think that because there's also a terrain there, that's part of it.
And this is a big piece of terrain, because these knights are big. These are big models. They're like that big. You can't see my hand. They're like that big, right? They're like that big. So the terrain is like that big compared to the knights.
Yeah.
In fact, it goes up further.
Yeah, it's just amazing deal, because I think there was calculation, and basically the whole terrain is free, and I think it's cost for 2 nights or even less.
Well, this box set, if you buy it directly from GW, I believe the cost is about £125. But if you buy it from any other retailer, and this is, but from other retailers, you can get a significant discount on top of that.
Yeah.
There are some retailers which give you 20%, 25% off these sort of things. And this is like an army in itself. This is like an army. You can play with this. These 2 models on their own.
That's
I mean, they won't give you like the command point stuff you need for, but you can play open play with. You can play open or narrative play.
You can do like 2 nights for 1,000 points without any problem. You just put some guns on them and have fun. Really, it's super simple.
And knights are worth units themselves. They're very strong. They're very powerful, and they're big bullies. They can be taken down. They can be taken down if you whittle them down, but they do take a little while to whittle down.
Yeah.
So I mean, but the original knights, the cost of an original knight is, I believe, somewhere in the range of about £90 or 180 to £90, and that's I think that's the Warden box set with all the upgrades.
I believe
so you're talking about that on its own is worth £80. So you get another knight, and let's say you take down the price, you're talking probably about £80, or 80 £78 or something like that if you get the discount. So £78 for one of those models there used to be. Now you can get for a little bit more, not a huge much more, maybe another £20 or something on top of that. You can get 2 of them and a giant terrain piece.
It's so lovely. I mean, this is how we can just, if you buy 2 boxes, you have an army. You can just go to any tournament and have a great game, and even having a chance to actually win. It's too.
And you're only painting 3 models.
Yeah.
Or 4 models.
And
they're big, but
they are really, really easy to paint. It's basically, if you can play with them, and that's the beauty of it. You can decide to really play with the details and really go into it and create a story behind them, or you can just use metallic paint and just put, I don't know, like red or whatever color you want.
And there's sprays. You can spray it.
Yeah.
Spray it metal first, then put the other armor on. Just paint that a bit of red, and you've got your 3 colors for the tournament.
I must mention my friend Robais. This guy has 9 Imperial Knights. He's crazy. He just loves those models so much.
Well, it was also announced the other day that they're bringing out Forge World pieces for the Imperial Knights as well, so you can get that will fit these, plus for the Dominus and the Armiger. These are only one set of knights. There's 2 more knight frames that you can get. One like baby knights, little knights like Chicken Walker knights, which are sort of more for killing infantry and small and taking objectives.
More for controlling the board and just being all over the place, trying to
There's
get behind
still significant vehicles in their own right. There's still 14 wounds and can kill like 8 models to 9 models a turn. So they're still pretty good. And then you've got the big knights, the Dominus class knights, which are brand new, just like the Armiger knight frame. And these guys are battleships. If these guys are battleships, they're cruisers.
Yeah, they are basically like walking fortresses with huge guns. I mean, who wouldn't like that, really?
And one of them has like a giant harpoon.
Yeah.
It literally has 10 damage with one shot.
Yeah,
You know.
it can kill almost any smaller monster in a game.
Well,
or
if it's
like,
a monster, it gets to re-roll. It's to hit rolls. I mean, it gets to if it's a vehicle or a monster,
yeah,
you get to re-roll your misses. So it's a
Yeah.
3+ re-rolling misses, and then you can always there's like other stuff you can do to bump it up as well.
yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, even if that shoots into regular vehicle, it will probably cripple it. Really, there's like
You can take a Bane blade down a bracket easily.
yeah, there's no problem. You know, really. I mean, wow.
And
But the problem is,
if it blows up, it gets like double the damage, doesn't it?
Yeah. The only problem they have the harpoon. It's a little bit on the short range side because you need to get close to actually shoot it. But you
That's
know,
why it's got a massive flamer and battle cannons and missile launchers on its back.
Yeah,
That's why you need both. Get both. Get both of them. There's one which is long range, one which is short range.
Yeah.
Get both of them.
True.
Have you ever seen Pacific Rim? You have the different weapons and all the different armor. That's what you get with these guys. It is a really. I mean, I love these. I love these months. I love knights. I think they're great. For me, who loves painting and story, these are like the gift because each model is a hero in his own right. Each model has his own backstory, and you can paint them however you want.
Yeah.
I mean, but I wanted to quickly, and I know we're going to run out of time here. We've got about another 10 minutes, I think, before we probably have to stop.
All right.
But I wanted to use this as an example to illustrate the difference between maybe tournament and narrative play and how that works.
Mm-hmm.
So, tell me your approach that you might take these within a tournament.
Well, my approach would be to take either 4 knights, or I would prefer to take 3 knights, and then a battalion of Imperial Guards, because the Imperial Guard can recycle your command points. The command points, for those of you who don't know, those are like the value that you pay for certain strategies that your army can utilize. They are like bonuses. You are paying for bonuses, and basically, the more command points you have, the better your army can perform. Yeah, but there's another layer of strategy behind it. Like, what do I want to spend? Do I want to spend my stratagem now, or do I want to save them for important role or important rule that it can bring? So definitely for me, 3 knights. That's the best way to go, and the attachment of Imperial Guard, because it brings you bodies that you need on the table, and it gives you opportunity to recycle those command points. So that's my approach.
And you would take a particular loadout, wouldn't you? Probably one would be very long range knight, one might be sort of more melter, destroying vehicles knights.
Or I would just go straight up killy, and I would just send those knights straight in. I would give them the Gatling gun, the Avenger Gatling gun, and either a fist or even the Reaper chainsaw is all right. But I would just send them, into forward, and just try to draw fire from the opponent, and the Imperial Guard would just stand on the objectives and pretend not to be there.
I mean, that's the important thing about tournament play. Tournament play is not just go over and kill the enemy. It's more like go over there, and these are the other things you have to do as well. You must kill the general. You have to have 3 objectives, which will be placed on the table. You have to have someone in the opponent's deployment zone, which, if you have a knight, is the perfect opportunity to get your knight into their army and just stand there and stomp on them every turn. That's what you can do. But yeah, so I'm getting excited. Now this is the difference I feel between narrative play and tournament play. Now, I played tournament, and I feel that your ideas and how that worked really made my army work together, and I felt that it was really good. I feel if I'd maybe gone with some of my ideas, it may not have worked the way I wanted it to, and I probably wouldn't have known how to make the army work together so well, because I was still relatively new to the army. The way I probably would the way I approach with it first is when I start taking a knight is I want to know his backstory. I want to know, is the knight is he brave but impetuous? Maybe he is very valiant and all the people around him are inspired, but at the same time, if someone scuffs the paint on his knight, he flies into a rage and charges the enemy and tries to stomp them to death, and then they need to call him back, and because he can't be controlled, is he actually maybe the advisor to the king who's planning to overthrow him. You know, I like to know the background of my characters. And that's probably how I would equip my knight as well. You know, my character is sneaky, and he prefers to watch over people and be a defender. I might make him a long-range specialist, and it would fit with the story. I mean, it wouldn't really fit if I gave him like 2 hand-to-hand combat weapons, because it wouldn't fit with his story. But that may not be the best way to play the game if I'm trying to win a tournament and take objectives. I would focus on how I was painting him, and I probably wouldn't take Imperial Guard. I may want to decide, no, these guys won't deal with. They're stuffy knights who walk around in machines that make them feel like gods. They're only going to listen to other guys walking around in equally large machines that make them feel like gods. So I might have, some armigers who be like their little footmen, or their minor lords who wander around the big knights trying to make the bigger guy feel important and singing his praises the whole time, or like some sort of wild hunts, like hounds being released to attack the enemy. Now, again, there may not be the best thing. I mean, because if they're destroyed, I've lost my objective. Things that grab my objectives. I don't have enough bodies on the table. A knight army can consist of about 7 models in total. I mean, and that's very hard when you need to take 3 objectives or 4 objectives. But that's how I would approach the army. Probably how I am going to approach the army. But I will still listen to this guy when I play tournaments, because he knows how possibly I might want to boost my list to make it actually competitive, because he knows the local meta, which is like the local way games being played at the moment and sort of rules which are being used. Okay, just one more thing before we sign off, because we have about 3 minutes left before I want to sign us off for today, because I think otherwise we'll have gone into like the 2-hour mark. So there's some really great deals, but 40k is not the only sort of thing you can get into in the local scene. Another game which is very popular at the moment, and there's 2 really popular games. One which is probably more popular than what I'm about to show you, Blood Bowl, which hopefully this guy is going to talk to you about on his channel, or I'll get him over and he can maybe show us how to play an intro game at some point. So he can teach me. I have no clue how to play. He can teach me how to play. But this game as well.
Oh my, Necromunda.
And this is Necromunda.
The world of Warhammer 40k is not only about the huge battlefields, but it's also about regular people trying to survive there. And the hive cities that can be found on certain worlds are basically like 20 million people living in one huge spire. And basically, the lower you go, the less your life is worth.
It gets.
Yeah, also definitely, but the less your life is worth. And these guys are fighting even in the Underhive, where basically your life is worth nothing, and it's just there's only war against the gangs, and it's just great skirmish game, I would say. Skirmish
but what
game.
makes it better, what makes it even great in the fluff is that all the houses are technically not supposed to actually go to war with each other at all, because they all have a quota to fulfill for the local planetary governor, and so they're all like. Guess the only way that they are allowed to fight for territory is to send a gang into someone else's territory. So basically they're like all mafia bosses who've got their bully boys, and they send their bully boys into the enemy territory and beats the other guys up and steal their stuff. But they're not allowed to do it enough. There's only they're only allowed to do a certain amount, aren't they? If they do too much, then they might get the police involved.
You don't want to get police involved.
Not the RBTs. No, you don't want the RBTs involved. These are not the nice police. These are the police. These are beat you over the head with an electric shock prod until you die.
For even looking wrongly at them, don't do it.
The Imperium is a totalitarian regime, so it's led by a puppet. Led by basically a corpse on a golden throne.
Yeah, a vegetable on a golden throne. But he's still living.
I'm going blasphemous here.
Yeah, you were right. I mean, next time he might not be here because the Inquisition might give him a visit, but
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. But I mean, this is 40k on a smaller scale, and they've actually brought the rules in line with sort of what 40k is, with a bit more, because the rules are basically that you'll play with about 10 models. I mean, 10 models on their own. Each model is an individual character with its own skills and abilities, and it either dies or it lives and succeeds and goes up levels learning from its experience. You can play as juiced up, steroid-induced iron workers who are all about brawn over brains. You can play the sort of like the poison-wielding, agile, fast Escher all-female army, who are all female because their males all get like all the poisons get tested on the males, so
and their DNA is just rotten away.
So. Or you can play as fanatics who are going to come out soon. The fanatics with crossbows that shoot flame and stuff.
And the models are just amazing. Really.
Guys who you can play as an army who found esoteric sort of technology which is poisoning them at the same time as making them incredibly powerful.
The Van Saar.
The Van Saar.
I love them.
And there's another army, isn't there? Oh yes, my own army. I can't forget it. My own army, the Orlocks, who are all about bullets. You know, we're all about metal and machine guns and bullets, and we don't have any fancy stuff. It's just bullets and bullets and bullets, and that actually works quite well.
Imagine Mad Max, basically. That's the army there. And I don't want to forget about my favorite gang, Delacroix. These are the spies. They are not out, but they will be, hopefully. And these are basically spies who are just, trying to get as many information as they can. Kind of shooty gang, but, my favorite.
And if you don't like the sound of any of those armies, well, do not worry, because Games Workshop has thought about that, and they've thought about people who play 40k as well. They've really been on the ball, I feel, with this, and they've gone, you know what, you want to play Chaos Cultists? Do you have an army of Chaos Cultists? Great. Here's a Chaos Cultist army. All the rules in the White Dwarf. White Dwarfs cost what, about £4? About 200 crowns. I think about £8 now, but 200 crowns. So it costs about £8. But these are full of rules. I mean, there's rules in everything, and you can get the entire army in there, all the information. And there's websites and things, which we won't mention because I don't know whether they are fully legal. But there's websites you can get stuff from as well. And then there's also the Gene Stealers, who are alien-fested humans who have been mutated by alien DNA. Think sort of aliens. Things like like the xenomorphs from Aliens, they infect you instead of jumping out of your chest. It actually changes your DNA to make your offspring into sort of hybrid alien humans. And he's got one of those armies as well. And the cultist army, don't you? You've got both armies as well. You can't keep this guy down. He's got one of everything.
Well, I already had them in my existing armies, so when Games Workshop just gave out the rules, I said, why not? I mean, let's try it. So it's that simple, really. I mean,
and then there's the Venators as well. Now there's the Venator army. If you want to play a whole army with a mix of these different models, if you want to use like a mixture of all of them together, that's fine, because they've made like an army list called the Venators, who are like bounty hunters who are all trying to search for someone. And that means you can use the bounty hunter models that they've made by Forge World, the Forge World bounty hunter models, as well as the ones that you've got from here. And they're all generic, so it doesn't say like you must use this character. It says you have.
You can also just choose regular gangers from different clans.
You can design your own ganger. And the great thing is they get to use the trading post as their initial thing. So they get to put the equipment like that you wouldn't normally get at the start of a game, but they don't get specialist equipment unless you pay extra credits.
You cannot send them to work on your
only the leader. The leader you can.
Well, I think so. Yeah, but the other gangers cannot really work on turfs.
But they get money every turn because their boss is like paying them.
Yeah, but you cannot send them to turfs because they cannot even hold a turf. They are just mercenaries.
They're just bounty hunters. They're not trying to take anything. They're not trying to keep anything. They're just there to hunt someone down.
Exactly.
So there's different styles of play. If you want to play completely different styles, the whole game. But this is just another example. If you don't fancy getting a whole army, if you don't fancy buying giant robots, which I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, right? Yeah, who wouldn't like that?
It's upset. If you don't like giant robots, you probably should be watching this channel. If you don't want to be doing that, if you don't say, many more games, this is ridiculous. You're asking me to invest a lot of money in a lot of stuff, and if I don't, then I can't play. I would say, well, first of all, if you do your homework, it can actually be relatively cheap because you can buy off retailers, which normally give you discounts, and you can buy start collecting box sets, which really lower the cost an awful lot. If you want to start an army, I would suggest looking at any of the start collecting box sets. Yeah, because everything in those is good for the most part.
Yeah, and the price for them, it's great, really. You can save up a lot.
I would say wait for the Space Wolves and the Orcs
Yeah,
see if they get a new one,
definitely.
because the Necron's got an updated Start Collecting
Yeah.
box set directly after their release.
And it just relates to the new rules. And yeah, I would say if you are trying to get space rules or orcs, just wait a little bit more, just couple of weeks, and then we'll be golden.
And then after that, we've got 2 more possibly coming up: the Inari and the Sisters of Battle.
Finally,
Will be out next year.
incredible. Well,
If you like do you like battle nuns? Do you like nuns with flamers and things that can melt your face?
we'll
Then you
verge
want
for the
Sisters of
emperor.
Battle.
Yeah.
Yes. If you want guys who are being tortured attached to a giant torture machine while he slices you up with a chainsaw, that's you like giant robots, but you like to be a bit more holy. You want to go for these guys as well.
Definitely.
We haven't even touched on like 100 of like 8 to 9 of the armies in the games. There's tons we haven't talked about today, but I think we're going to run out of time if we continue talking.
Maybe later, we can do another video.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. What I'd like to do, just last thing to finish off, if you don't mind, let me interrupt you there, sorry, just a bit aware of the time.
Yep.
Can you just tell us what you've been doing recently?
Recently we went to Olomouc together.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
That we talk about that. But then
What's coming up in the future?
in the future, usually over summer we have a little break in our Zlobr League and also over the Warhammer scene. But there will be an apocalypse happening in Friedeck Mistek soon. I'm still not sure about the date, but I will let you know on our Facebook page. Basically, Apocalypse is like a game where you can bring any model you want, anything, with big guns, and you just play for fun. You play with other players who brought their own collection, and you just put it all on the table, and you just have fun. Yeah, you can have 9 of those on the table, and trust me, that's something amazing, really.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm gonna say this because I'm an AOS player, and I'm just gonna say the only reason you're not having a major summer thing is because there's no summer campaign this year for you guys. It's all AOS. My team gets a summer campaign. Yes,
Oh, wow.
2 years in a row. Well, we
let you
did. We
have
had the 2 years in a row, didn't we?
I
No,
think
you
so,
had the
yeah.
Indominus campaign. You had that sort of campaign
Oh, yes.
which came out at the beginning.
I think so.
But last year, I believe, was AOS had Malign Portents during the summer, and then they had, which has been going off like a year.
Oh, they also had Blitzmania for the Blood Bowl. I think
Yeah,
that
Realms
was-
of War is where Realms of War.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blitzmania for the Blood Bowl.
Yeah.
You're right. You had that. It's
So
lovely to
nice.
see there's some supporting these sort of specialist games which have become mainstream. It's really weird. They've gone from specialist and hiding on the internet,
Yeah.
like little communities, little covens of people creating their own rules to try and keep up with the times, because there's no support from GW. And now GW's like, you want this game? Here's another game. Here's another game. It's like they've got Rogue Trader coming out soon. It's going to be like, I can't keep up with all this. Too many
But
choices.
It's a golden age to be a Warhammer fanboy, really.
It really is. I only had to wait 10 years for it to happen. Okay, so I'm gonna, as I said before, I'm gonna be going through this video. Obviously, I've showed some pictures to you, and I'm gonna try and throw up some pictures so that they can see what's gonna be on there. So you should have seen those. If you didn't, then I didn't do my job properly. I think that we'll probably end this here for today. And one more time, all the links will be in the information below to the Zlobr League and to your channel. I'll make sure that's in there, and hopefully I'll be appearing on your channel at some point soon.
Yep. Alex, thank you so much for having me. It was a great talk. We have to do it often, really.
Yeah, we have to get you on a bit more often.
We just scratched the surface of Warhammer 40k, but really, it's a universe that's so full of stories, and we could just sit here and talk about days and days. But great, thank you so much.
Yeah. And if you want to see this guy thrash me in any games that we've been talking about, because he will beat me, let us know in the comments below, because I'd love to maybe put up a battle report or two, maybe just Necromunda or just a small 1,000-point game or something to show how the game is played, the games we've been talking about. I'm keeping him here when he's probably got to go home. So thanks very much for watching, guys. There's many more games, and hopefully you'll tune in for the next one. Bye.
Bye.